All right, so I'm being joined here with SteamCat and Raven420. You know Raven420, and you've probably met SteamCat in one of my other videos as well. I'm just kind of doing this video as somewhat of a response to why I am just don't really think that this petition for EA is going to go anywhere. It's not that I think that EA is doing anything good, and like they're in the right in any way possible because they are complete, dumpster trash. It's just that the lawsuit I don't think is going to really go anywhere, and
Don't think it won't. I hope it don't.
yeah, it just won't. I mean, there's not a lot behind it, but anyway, I'm being joined with like SteamCat and Raven, and they are going to also, give some of their 2 cents on here. Uh, SteamCat has also
So,
studied.
Enforcer,
Yeah.
I got something for you.
Okay.
Everything said in this podcast or in this episode is not legal advice, nor is it stock advice. That's the first time we've had to say that here, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Definitely not legal advice or stock advice in any way or form. It is straight opinions.
All right, so here's my take. Right now, there's a petition on change.org headed up by a guy calling him Satoshi Nakamoto, which for those of you who are familiar with the cryptosphere, that's basically the guy who wrote the white paper and developed Bitcoin. Anyone claiming that pseudonym is usually of the crypto bro type and in that sphere. So take that as you will. I tend to take that as a negative because of my experiences with them and the current state of NFTs. Let's not get into that because that's a whole separate side conversation. But he has said that he does want to advance this to a lawsuit of some sort. And the closest analog to this I can think of was the investor class action lawsuit that was filed against the developer, CD Projekt Red, the developers of Cyberpunk 2077, because I can definitely see the parallels we got going here.
Yeah, it's like it's basically what they're trying to do again. Try to do the same thing they tried to do with that, which I don't think that really went anywhere either. In my
they did settle out of court for around $2 million, which, given the fact that it was an investor class action lawsuit, is kind of on the low side. And most of the commentators who are writing about this kind of agree with me on that one.
Yeah, I mean, 2 million. Okay, 2 million. Now, EA once settled with what was it, Madden in around 2013. EA Sports whole lawsuit that was like 11 million, and that was barely a drop in a bucket for them there for 11 mil.
Oh yeah, that didn't hurt them at all or anything.
I mean, for context though, EA's revenue in 2020 was $5.5 billion with a B. So 2 million.
That's
well, EA has all their grips into all the good sports games, high-selling sports games.
Not just the good sports games. They got Dice. They got all the
EA Sims,
stuff.
and then Sims too.
Yeah,
which they make a buttload off of all their little packs and little things extras you can add into there.
That, and of course all the big name franchises, including one of my personal favorites, Apex Legends, which is a smash success as far as anyone can tell. So
yeah, and that's why I'm thinking, like, with the Battlefield 2042, yeah, it was a crap game, like, straight up. But this lawsuit, they're like, oh, we're going to go after them, and it's like 100, I think it was 120 last time, 120,000. Even at that, even if everybody got every single one of them, which I highly doubt even most of them even, have the game, it's only going to be, 10 to 11 million there. And that's couch, change for them. And I know, like, a lot of people in my chats are like, oh, this is going to hold them accountable so they don't do this. I just don't see it as that. I think there has to be a better way around it,
Well, let's go back to Cyberpunk 2077. The way they went about that lawsuit was an investor class action lawsuit. So let's break that down a little.
Okay.
Class action lawsuit basically says, hey, we're a group of people and we were harmed by this other group. Judge, can we sue them together? And the reasons for this are like a whole bunch of things. One is efficiency in the court system, another is efficiency in lawyers. You don't want to have like 100 cases on the same damn issue with the same harms and the same outcomes. So they're like class action, just clump it together. Investors as a class action are pretty easy to put together because, hey, do you own stock? Did you own stock when the shit went down? Good, you're a part of the class. Easy to define and certify. Lawyers love that. Judges too. The other part that's important here is the investor part. Publicly traded companies like EA owe specific duties to investors. There's a whole list of them. There are literally classes you should spend like a year up to study, like in law school, studying all this stuff on, plus all the ancillary stuff.
Yeah.
It is a huge thing. The thing is, though, generally speaking, the company cannot lie to their investors,
Right.
like in any of their official documentation. Like marketing, that's a whole separate thing. You know, hype and tours, that's a whole separate thing. But once they like do investor calls, earning calls, quarterly reports, they cannot fabricate those or lie about those without
Right.
facing a significant. And this isn't just like civil suit. This is also like Securities and Exchange Commission stuff. So not only would they be facing like a civil court suit, which, you know, investor class action lawsuit, they would also possibly face regulatory action depending on the administration.
And this is what worries me the most, is because all these people that are in these petitions and want things done aren't looking at the bigger picture. At now, if you have your perfect world, and if these games aren't perfect, there's legal ramifications for that. Companies are going to start going in a different direction. There won't be people are going to be scared to even throw content out there. And where do you think this industry is going to go if everybody's worried about coming out with the next game because they might bankrupt them?
Get sued on it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There is, for software at least, there's like very little like positive duty to put out a quote working product, you know.
Yeah,
well, that's right. Games would never come out because they would constantly be like, nope, we still have more to fix, sorry, you know. And then the next time, oh no, but we found something else. So games would never come out.
There's no way to benchmark the positivity of someone's experience, because the experience for one person is completely different to another. I mean, I looked up on Twitter and seen Battlefield, their thread, and there's people who are like, oh man, this game's great. And there's a lot of people who are like, dude, you're out of your mind. You know, there's so many difference of opinions there.
Yeah, they are kind of out of their mind.
Like, I will freely admit, I love several, like, objectively terrible games. Just saying.
Yeah, you know, that's why, you know, a lot of people go with indie games for that reason. You know, they're like, I want to support the ones that are like trying to make it, and yeah, I know it's going to be not that great, you know, and I don't know. We're looking at AAA games, but yeah,
But I think a lot of these dudes who are saying we should sue on Twitter are basically blowing smoke up their own asses. I don't think this is, like, the law clearly isn't with them on the side, at least in the United States. I know that the EU and other places have their own regulatory bodies to work with, but, you know, games still get released out there, even in their, you know, complete crap states.
Yeah.
And, like, again, going back to Cyberpunk, like, even though their launch was, you know, complete ass by every measure, you know, as a consumer, they still did incredibly well financially. Yeah, the stock price took a hit initially, but they recovered.
Yeah. Like EA will always recover from this. You brought up investors before, and I have a few articles that are here. Battlefield 4 faced a class action lawsuit where the investor itself started a class action lawsuit, and the judge sided with EA, saying no, there's no really any, you know, grounds for this.
Yeah, and it's not an easy thing to win. It is winnable. It's not like an insurmountable task, but you got to show bad behavior here, and you know,
yeah, and like intentional. You have to prove that it's intentional.
Yeah, like if they're putting forth an honest effort, you know, even as as it can be, and they aren't misrepresenting themselves to their investors. You know, that's not going to go anywhere legally. You know, regardless of your feelings.
Well, no, I was talking about, you know, the Battlefield 4 and how their investors basically wanted to get their money back, but like you were saying that, you know, there has to be a proof of, you know, basically misguidance or something like that, or misleading intentionally, and unless the actual like executives are going on the floor to each of their developers and being like, I need you to cut down everything and make this terrible, basically. There's not really a real way to set a precedent there, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you could prove that, and if let's say an exec did go door to door with somehow producing no documentation saying let's bomb this game intentionally, that's kind of hard to prove.
I would say without it being on video, you wouldn't be able to prove that.
Yeah. Which is why most of these, most of the class action lawsuits we've seen in this field, fall back to statements in quarterly reports and earnings calls, and investor discussion meetings. Like this again, Cyberpunk 27. Sorry, this is like the most recent.
It's the most recent one. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll see your Cyberpunk and I'll raise you a 76.
Anyway,
Fallout 76.
But no, according to in one of the investor calls, they literally said something along the lines of, the console versions are performing better than expected, and that was sort of one of the key points that the case hinged around. Is basically, was that misleading? And because they settled, I'm guessing the lawyers suing didn't feel they had the strongest hand with what they had.
All right, so I'm gonna turn to some of the comments I have here. One by Walter White, and says, it's not about the game failing, it's about false advertising. No good lawyer would even look at a case like this unless there was something viable they could go after. Now, I was talking to you about, like, I was like, they're like high-end ambulance chasers if they did find somebody.
I don't see how there'd be any kind of false advertisement, because what they showed in trailers and what they were saying was coming out did come out. It's just not as good as it should be.
Yeah.
But it's there. It's just not there. Kind of.
Yeah.
From legal perspective, like, people are given wide discretion on advertising. So
yeah, I mean,
trying to sue them, I'm like, trying to say, oh, this is false advertising. I'm like, yeah, I can see your point, but you have to prove that in court with things like evidence and arguments and precedent, and
a lot of that's circumstantial.
Yeah,
circumstantial, and and especially in the PC sphere, like, that is a working product. One of the understandings is not every game and manufacturer can cover every possible system configuration. Yeah, there's recommended specs, but it happens.
Right.
We got another one here from Chanting in the Dark. The game is trash. It deserves the criticism it's getting, but I guess some people are fine with whatever crap EA squeezes out. Many of us aren't. I can agree.
Actually, many of us are, because we consistently keep on pre-buying, knowing EA, and eventually, most often than not, a way higher percentage of the time, it does end up becoming good. Not everything is going to turn out like Anthem.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Cyberpunk 2077, they did patch a lot of the bugs in the PC version, and that one's pretty playable. Can't say much about the consoles, though, but...
Yeah. Well, Battlefield 4 was a complete train wreck when it came out, and I remember playing it. 4 and I think 5. I think 1 was okay. Battlefield 1, when they did that re-release of it. But 4 and 5, there was just so much. I think it was 5 that was like the worst one, because they had RTX out and everything. I think I even did a video on it. And it was trash at the start. But now, you go back to it now, and it's a great game. They took time.
Yeah, I got lucky. I didn't buy 5, and 4 I bought late.
Yeah. And I think 4 and 5 are like ones before they had the subscription, so I went ahead and bought the full game right away. I think I bought the deluxe pack, whatever I could grab, and then I was on that first line bus. Yeah, we'll do this guy, Ryan. It only makes sense this is getting a lawsuit. This isn't the first time EA advertised a live service game with zero content on release and with unfinished and game-breaking bugs. Watch it get abandoned like Star Wars and Anthem until they cook up another live service game and con everyone into buying it. Basically, I think what he's trying to say is that it makes sense that they get the lawsuit, but there was zero content and it's unfinished. He's thinking that this will actually do something to the company and they won't release unfinished games anymore. Which,
I mean, like I said, my opinion is I don't think it's going to go anywhere, like legally or monetarily significant. But
Actually,
wish it did.
I don't understand how they say it's unfinished. I actually think it's over finished. Like I had told you before, I think it seemed like the devs were in the room doing their troubleshooting on pitching ideas, and at the end of the day, it seemed like they were like, oh, we'll just do them all, and we'll bring all a bunch of maps from these 3 games from older, and then the new technology with the new 3K, we have to deal with that, but we're gonna do it all together, and it'll be fine. That's, I want to say, is the biggest mistake that they did, is they did too much all at once and just ran with it.
Yeah, I think I mean, there was a lot. They, like you said, they did too much, and they missed all these little bugs. They had a beta and everything. I remember I played the beta, and I even played the beta. I tried to do a video on it. I think I released it, and I was just like, this is just too terrible for me to even do a video on. And like, just from there, they should have probably scaled it back and tried to focus on stuff. Yeah, I
told you they lost a lot of money for themselves, because if they would have kept all those little things, had the actual, what the new 2042 came out, have us have the new maps for say a few months, like about 3 months, and then all of a sudden be like, oh well, here, have and do it like every 3 months and give us a little bit more and a little bit more, instead of just jam packing us with it all, because it would have kept everybody's interest longer and longer and longer.
Trying to hold on, like a lot of other game companies try to do. They try to trinkle it out instead of throw it out in a waterfall.
Yeah, and 1, it makes them money, and 2, it leaves them time to focus on the important things of the stuff that they have out, instead of having everything out, and now we have to work on this and this and this, and something's got to take a back seat and just be for the next whatever it would be until they actually have the time to get to that,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the current, like, quote, live service, especially in the shooter genre, market is super oversaturated and has been for a while. It feels a lot like MMOs, like around in the 2000s. Like everyone was putting out an MMO, everyone was trying to cash in on those monthly subscriptions and recurring revenue. Yeah. And now I just feel like they're doing the same thing with like battle royales and other shooter type games. I mean, look at like how many have just bitten dust, like Paladins and a few other ones. Like, why is the moment I start talking about this, I completely forget about all these dead live service shooters?
All right, well, the last thing I want to brush on is obviously the actual refund policy, because obviously people don't agree with me on the refund policy.
Go play Steam.
Yeah, go play Steam, exactly. And I brought up that Steam refund policy says when you pre-purchase a title on Steam and have played the title in advance, you can request a refund at any time prior to the release of that title. The standard 14-day/2 hour refund period. Ooh. And now the thing I brought up was EA's, which is basically, we're just going to go through the advanced one because it's a game that just released, a brand new release within 30 days of its release date. And it says if you buy a EA game within 30 days of its release date and can't play due to problems outside your control, like server issues, bugs, or other technical problems on our side, you can request a refund within 72 hours after you first launch the game instead of 24. I think that's plenty of time, and people don't agree with me.
I do think I think they should give a little more leeway, especially if the bugs are like well known. But that's also we're like a whole bunch of tech nerds here. We're gonna spend like 6 hours tinkering with something to get the best FPS or get it to run better or more stably. I know that's not like most people. Like for real, like how many of your listeners like have edited a game's like INI files to try to get better performance?
Yeah. Not too many. A lot of times, it's just a pick up the game and go. PlayStation, it's just on console. But I I don't think, okay, 72 hours is good, but within that 72 hours, you already know that it was a crappy release. Like within that 72 hours, you look at it and you're like, yeah, this is bad. I
It's
really
way
can't play
better
this.
than anybody else in the industry right now, as
Yeah.
far as a refund
Oh
policy.
my god! Don't even get me started on that. It's like I am
Because with
thankful.
the 2
that-
hours, I don't understand. Some games, depending on how good of the character creation there is, like say it was like, um, Elder Scrolls or something. Man, I'm not even out of the character creation in 2 hours. I'm still sitting there. I love that part, so I'm just sitting there
Yeah.
doing that. So I wouldn't even be in the game in like 2 hours. I mean,
Yeah. So it should be flexible. I mean, like
yes.
per the game. Yeah.
But it's also like you've also got like a lot of the indie titles that are shorter experiences where you can legitimately finish them in 2 hours.
And
Like,
that would be something that if they'd be able to probably see them records say, well, you finished the game. No, you're not getting. I mean, that's something that would be how he was saying. Discretion.
The problem is you can't really programmatically set that up in a way that's
Yeah.
going to make sense because it's like, okay, how do you tier that? Do you say, oh, if you get the beat the game achievement, or the achievement that's flagged as I beat the game, no more refunds. But it's like, well, what if some asshole developer makes it the first achievement? You started the game achievement is the refund achievement.
Yeah.
And
There we go.
you could say, well, that's not reasonable. And I'm like, okay, but now take that to a company like, Valve and be like, hey, this guy's abusing the achievement flag. That means they gotta get a human to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
And Valve, for example, has been infamously hands-off on regulating anything on its market beyond like their standard terms of service.
Actually, I'm very surprised. They made a deal with Nintendo. Portal bundle is going to Switch. It blew my mind when I heard that.
I mean, it's not the first time Valve has pushed their stuff to console.
I know, true, but it takes a lot of twisting their arm. They don't like doing it for some reason. They are very picky.
On the other hand, it's the Switch. You can't ignore that.
Oh no!
Yeah, they're
it's
putting
like,
everything out on.
Does Valve hate money? I mean, clearly not.
Yeah, I don't know. As far as this refund goes, though, I just think 72 hours is kind of enough. You know it's going to be bad at that point. You should really turn in your cash by that time. And I think you're Raven, you're right where, there should be special circumstances like games that you're going to spend, hours in character creation or something like that.
I love that. I'll just sit there and mess around.
That's wrong with it. But with Battlefield, it's not really that type of game. It's kind of like get in.
No, true.
Here's your character. Yeah, you start playing. I mean, you start chopping around and you see everybody else chopping around. You're missing hitboxes. You read within that time that everybody is complaining about the same bugs and everything else, which it says right there, like server issues, bugs, and other technical problems. You contact EA at that point and be like, hey, this game sucks, man. I want my money back. And they're going to give you your money back. Now, 3 months down the line, I can see within a month even, and you try to, talk to them. Because I know EA, sometimes they'll push you aside, but there's also cases where they'll be like, okay, well, it doesn't seem like, you did much. We don't really want to make a big deal out of this. Here,
just go. Yeah.
Yeah, just get out of our hair.
Stop buzzing our ears,
Yeah, and 3 months down the line, though, it's too far down the line.
Speaking of the 3 months down the line, it's like, especially with live services, what if they patch it in a way that basically makes it unplayable?
Yeah, there's that.
I mean, it's not just they issued a buggy patch or whatever. It's like, well, they did there's cases where there have been like, say, Dead by Daylight, where they've done an engine change, and it's caused problems for certain people.
Yeah.
Oh, it's happened on WoW a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, or WoW, when they basically had to raise the minimum spec for playing the game. What happens?
That's a really good point, though.
Yeah, I mean, like especially nowadays with the whole GPU shortage. I mean, if somebody is like raised the specs on a game and they said, "Oh, now we require to have everyone to have a 2060 or whatever as the baseline."
Yeah.
Like good luck.
But yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean there has to be something that would cover something like that on patches, and there's definitely not. So you would be out of the 72 hour. But in a case like that, then yeah, then I would say go for a class action because they broke the game after your refund period. You know,
Yes.
you know, and I just want to bring this up just slightly in here, but we're talking about these lawsuits, and the one lawsuit that should be going right now is Gamers Nexus.
Yeah.
Oh my lord, should Gamers
If
Nexus?
anything deserves a lawsuit, it is that.
Yeah. So if anybody has
Newegg needs to get the foot up their butt.
Newegg and Gamers Nexus, like I can't even believe it. That is just the worst.
You're talking about the exploding PSUs, aren't you?
No, you should check.
No.
You should check this out. The motherboards, Gamers
Lord.
Nexus Steve got a motherboard from Newegg, and he didn't open the box at all, like not even the shipping box, and had it
Oh, I
sent
know
back.
what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. So I don't want to spend too much time on it, but yeah, if there's any case, yeah, if there's any time to have a lawsuit going, it would be on Newegg.
Unfortunately, the gaming space, not directly at Newegg here,
Yeah.
but the gaming space is one where it's usually people who are complaining are the minority, or they're not organized enough, or, that loud or annoying minority just doesn't get enough traction with developers to care. It's like, and it sucks.
Yeah, and I'm just going to make it clear one more time that what EA has done with Battlefield isn't right. It's terrible. And yeah, they need to be held accountable for something. But a lawsuit, like you said, the gamers are a minority in the situation, and it's not gonna really create a bite. It's not going to have them be like, "Oh man, we were so bad. We're never going to release a halfway done game again," because they will. They will.
I think we're 22 years beyond all that.
Like, the market doesn't respond rationally here. I mean, yeah, I'm wearing my, leftist hat pretty hard on this episode, but like, yeah, I mean, if it turns a profit and in the long term, they're going to go with it, even if it's broken, even if it is anti-consumer, even if it does, quote unquote, ruin things.
Yep, because people will keep on shelling out the cash, and they'll end up buying the next Battlefield as soon as it comes out.
Stop pre-ordering things, people.
All right, well, I'm going to end this here because we have a lot of information in this one video. And anybody that I offended out there, yeah, just go away. But anyway,
the participation award.
No, I do love you guys. I know a lot of you out there do enjoy my videos, and hopefully EA will turn a leaf a little bit from this. Who knows? Maybe they'll try to be a little better, but I highly just doubt it, and that's why. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching this video. I want to thank Raven420 and SteamCat for coming on. Thank you guys.
No problem.
You're welcome. That was fun.
All right, you all take care, and happy gaming.